Hello and welcome back to the Simplifiers podcast, where we take topics in business and in life and simplify them. We're talking to super smart people all over the world, and today's guest is one that I am super excited about diving into this conversation. Her name is Carrie Montgomery, and she's an image and brand consultant for thriving female entrepreneurs all over the world. She teaches women how to own their true beauty, build confidence, and create a dream image for their business and their life. She has worked with lots of amazing people, including Kate Blanchett, Val Kilmer, New Line Cinema, you name it. Her expertise in film, design, marketing, and wellness, along with her love of fashion, allows her to create a holistic experience for personal style. She curates her client's image, helping women look good and feel good from the inside out. Her work has been featured on OWN, the Oprah Winfrey Network, Super Soul Sunday, and Coastal Living, amongst many others, including the Hay House. You can connect with her online at carriemontgomery.com. I'd like to welcome to the Simplifiers podcast today, Carrie Montgomery. Hello, Carrie.
Hello, Mary. How are you?
I am so good. I am so excited you're here today because I feel like this is a topic that comes up over and over and over again amongst my girlfriends who are also business owners is, okay, I get the idea of branding for my business and I get the idea of fashion for myself. How do I marry the two together?
I know it feels really complicated because we have like identity and then we have like external mission.
Right.
And how do we like marry the two so that it feels seamless and not exhaustive? Right?
So first and foremost, you talk a lot about kind of creating your visual identity. What does that mean?
That's a great question. So your visual identity is the thing that walks into the room before you even open your mouth. Right? It's the thing that when someone pops onto your website, they're like, ooh, I get her vibe. Because we have literally, it used to be 30 seconds. I think we have 10 seconds now to make an impression on someone, especially online. And it's like, snap, did you get it or not? And so we have to have a really impactful image. And I work from the place of having it be aligned with who you are, what you're doing, why you're doing it.
Yeah. And so you talk a lot about a soul style as well. Like, what is my soul's style? Can you break that down for us in simple terms?
Sure. So your soul style really is looking at your energy, your emotions, your personal story, like that deep, deep, deep story that's been through your whole life saying, oh my God, I'm dealing with this thing again. And typically us mission-driven women and entrepreneurs, our business is based around something that's dealing with that long, long, long mission that we have going on in our life. So when we get an idea of how that's all interconnected to your body, then we can start to develop accents and features that like different textures. We get to get an understanding of the tonal quality inside your body. And once we understand that, then we can start to express it out with physical features like, different types of lace or leather or studs. It just depends on sort of the quality of what you're going for. I mean, I have like floral. So once we look at that, we build something called a style archetype.
Okay.
And that really is your external container for your body, and it's your image, but it's completely aligned with your interpersonal story.
So what are the first steps then? Are there different types of archetypes? Can you,
oh my God.
List them out for us or a couple of them?
A couple. So I'm a boho warrior. So I have this extremely nomadic side, and I also have this very warrior-driven, justice-seeking, like I'm disciplined beyond demand because I want to see change. But to really self-regulate, I need to have that free, nomadic, more down-to-earth side. So that balances me out. They're a romantic warrior, and so she's like more floral and flowy, but elegant and a little bit chic. But like you see the fierceness. So she's going to be wearing like booties and a cuff bracelet and something that really stands out as a contrast. So we look for the contrast so that we can claim that and know that it's present. And when we know that that's present, we're being honest with ourselves. So like elegant rebel, or I love this one, sporty empath, a very empathic person, but she's got a sporty side. So claiming that, the list, there are hundreds.
Yeah.
So the way I do the work, as you go through my system, we get to the point, about 5 weeks in, and we really break down everything that you've built up on all your body mapping and all your energy work and your body work that we've created to start to identify and ask the deeper questions of what your style archetype is.
This is all very intriguing to me. And I really just want to dive into it and figure out what mine is immediately. So if somebody's listening to this right now and going, ooh, a boho warrior, maybe that's me. What are the first steps? Is it a matter of just kind of brainstorming and journaling out how you identify yourself? Or is there something, can you lead somebody through an exercise right now on this podcast?
Sure. I mean, it's my signature system, right? So we go through the body mapping exercises and we talk about, we look at the energy, and I take them through a meditation, and we go and we place the energy on your body, and we talk about what you saw and what you felt and what you heard. So you're calling it in. You're coming up with the ideas and the images, and I'm guiding the process and saying, this is what I saw, this is what I felt too. Does that resonate with you? And as we draw, there's a lot of drawing in the work that I do. So we draw out the body map. So the energy gets drawn, and it's really based on the chakra system, but we're identifying what's happening in each center. And then once we go there, we want to tap into the emotions of the body and really get an understanding of that and where those emotions are being placed, and then how they marry with the energy and the emotions, right? And where there's an overlap. And then we deal with the story and how the story gets placed on the body. And then we deal with the kinetic experience of what you want to express, how you want to feel supported, what you want to release, what you want to protect. And then we go, okay, let's go into the deep brainstorm. And this whole process over a month-long period, because there's a lot of integration and checking in and really just saying oh, okay, this is where I'm at, and getting honest with yourself and really just staying involved in the conversation with yourself. And once you get to that point, you can reflect back on all the work that we've done together. And then you can really start to claim, I have a whole worksheet for the style archetyping, but it's really going through the brainstorm of where your contrast is in your life, who you want to be, what your values are, where you're going.
Yeah. And I think, if I had to guess, a lot of women that are listening to this episode right now are going, whoa, Carrie, you're blowing my mind here, because all I think about is what's on the sale rack. Oh, that's in my size, right? I'll just get those. Oh, I'm in a hurry. I'll just, black and white. Sure. That'll work. Another black thing in my closet, right?
No. So what happens with that is it creates identity chaos. Yeah. And so when you show up in identity chaos, you actually are showing up insecure. You're like, I don't know who I am, but I'm here. I don't know who I am, but I'm here.
Right.
And it's read by the whole entire room when you walk in that room. And as much as we want to be yo, I'm confident, they can feel your energy.
Yeah.
So I curate your energy. And so once you know your style archetype, and it's sort of that tail wag moment where you're like, oh my God, I got it. Yep, that's it. And my clients, when we get down into it, and my students in Create Your Soul Style, when we get down into it, we're like, whoa, that's it. I can really own that.
Yeah.
And sometimes it takes tweaking, and it takes a couple more weeks to be you know what? I thought we were, an advocate, but I really think that I'm a rebel.
Yeah.
And it's, whoa, that's really different energy.
Right. Well, and it's how you're showing up in the world, either personally or professionally. Your clothes are what sometimes people see very, very first. If you walk into a room 100 yards away, I see you in that beautiful red jacket before I actually hear you speak. So it's huge, right?
Yeah, it totally is. And a lot of this was born because I was raised all over the world, so I was going in and out of environments all the time. And then I've had multiple different types of careers, from sales to working on sets to, teaching Pilates to doing holistic health to, you name it. I've sort of been across the board, and high-end resort real estate sales to supplemental sales for doctors, being an educator. And that's all different identities. I mean, I remember moving to Hawaii for a Ritz-Carlton project, and I was like, okay, I'm going to get rid of all of these city clothes, get rid of my New York City clothes. And I was on the sort of a 5-year plan prior to the crash.
Yeah.
And I had all these different dresses and ballet flats, and it didn't really feel like me, but I was like, I'm just going to dress the part.
Right.
And it felt so stressful and inauthentic to me. And it was a really hard experience. People are like, oh, you lived in Hawaii? And I'm like, yeah, I lived in Hawaii. It was because I wasn't truly aligned with myself, right? And so it's really about claiming that identity. Now, I've the way I was raised, I got the skills to build the look good thing. So I can do the look good thing no matter what. But I didn't know how to do the feel good thing. And when I started to learn how to marry the two, you become unstoppable.
So just to point on what you just said, looking good is very different from feeling good. And I think, you know, for women who are go, 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 busy, 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 and I've certainly been guilty of this in my past as well, of like, oh, just whatever fits. I don't have time to like figure out at what looks good on me. I just grab it and go, you know. You're absolutely right. I think that energy falls along, and then you buy kind of disposable clothes. Do you know what I mean? Like the cheaply made, poorly, ill-fitting, you know, all of that.
It's just like, what? You're wearing clothes every day. We want the best quality for you for the best value. Like, I do agree with the sale rack. I'm like not opposed to sale rack at all. But I also have a short list that I keep of items that I'm really, you know, that I'm saving for, that are cost a lot more.
Right.
And I make an investment strategy over time. So I'm not just like aimlessly shopping to fill a void, right? It's very, very consciously curating who you are. And, you know, where fashion is really unique because it's the only industry that has grown, that we consume more and the price has gone down. But there's a huge disparity in the price because there's really high end. And then there's that fast fashion low end that is so toxic for our environment.
Yeah.
It is so toxic for our world. It actually doesn't feel very good pretty much because, I mean, it's plastic.
Yeah.
It's not good for the body. It doesn't, like, when you put something on, you're like, oh my God, my skin cannot breathe. You're wearing plastic.
Yeah.
Not good.
Yeah. So going back to what you said earlier about understanding first and foremost your visual identity, your soul style. And by the way, everybody, you can click on the show notes to get links to Carrie's website, and you can start to find bits and pieces on how to really uncover that yourself and simplify that. But really, after we've identified, okay, I am a sporty rebel. Let's just say that's who I am. Then what are the three key factors to consider when I'm figuring out my visual identity?
Yeah, so color is really, really important.
Yeah.
And color will attract or retract people, right? You want to pull them in, but there's also the world of online is different because color shows up differently online than it does in person. So we have to look at the different tonal qualities, and then we're telling a color story in our brand. So within the wardrobe, we mirror that. So knowing that, like, okay, my colors are like army green, navy blue, black, gray, and white are pretty much, and I pop in a little orange and a pink here and there, but pretty much I'm staying over here in this neutral zone because that's where I feel really good. I feel really strong and solid.
And then I clarify, though, really quick on what you're saying here. So is this the same thing as what you've heard years and years along of like, what season am I? What color? How, like that? This is different, right?
This is totally different.
Okay,
so
good.
I connect into the chakra system, and I created a color map that has a gradated system so that you choose like your winter colors. In the sense they're darker. In the summer colors, they're lighter. But you also look at the emotional tonal quality of what's going on for you. If you feel bolder and stronger or like more aggressive, you can wear the darker, bolder color, right? Or the more like single pigment, I'm going to say, right? Like the yellows or the reds. But if you feel like a little softer, a little more elegant, a little bit flowier, you can go into that softer, like lighter. And I see a lot of my clients in that softer, lighter realm because I deal with light workers. Most of my clients have some sort of empathic ability. So we're always managing their energy around the space they show up and the space that they're showing up online. Because your energy is interconnected to your work. So we're really trying to create a container of balance. So color is one of them. Texture is another, right? So what textures are you going to choose, which is an expressive quality? You know, one's a really great one. Karen Kenny, she's an incredible spiritual mentor, and she uses peacock feathers on her site. And that's just like, her clothing will never be peacock feathers. Like she shows the contrast of persona when it comes to image. But you get something from the image of the peacock feather all over her site. And that's just like, oh, yeah. Like there's an energy around that.
So what about, lifestyle, your body image and your body shape? Are those also things that we have to think about as well?
100%.
Yeah.
So we're taught in the world of style and in our sort of our world of magazines and social media that there's a certain figure that we're all supposed to look like, right? That you want to be sort of the hourglass shape, which only 8% of the population is, but that we need to look like this. And so style has been built to create proportion around our size and shape so that you can manipulate how you look to the eye so that you look like this certain container. And there's nothing more frustrating to me than that, because you're hiding parts of your body. And I totally get like trying to look good, but there's a certain energetic expression when you go into the body image, right? And I deal deeply within the body image and how we see and feel ourselves so that we can project that out into the world confidently. Where when you're just dealing with body shape, you're masking everything and you're not actually saying like, oh, I have something going on here. You're like, no, I must fit into this mold.
Yeah. Well, and that's the thing, right? Isn't it like, what is the stat about the average woman in the U.S. is a size 14 or something like that, but then the average model is a size 2, right? So you're not seeing yourself in real, TV, print, anywhere. So you're not seeing yourself anywhere. So you're constantly getting that message from the outside world of like, you are enormous, And how do you overcome
I'm
that?
a size 10 and it's really hard to find clothes sometimes in a regular store. Like that's hard. And I think we're really lucky though in this time. We have enough people speaking out saying, hey, I don't really agree with that. And so the body positivity movement is really big. I sort of look at it differently just because, it's more than just the larger girl or the heavier set girl looking larger, but it's like we all I'm considered like more petite or skinny. I don't feel skinny. I feel puffy. Like I feel puffy sometimes. Sometimes I feel strong and petite and like skinny, but for the most part, like I work with my own hormones and everything that's going on. And like I have my own language going on inside my head. So I want to see all the spectrums, like the Jenna Kutchers or the Ashley Grahams. I want to see the spectrum of sizes, shapes, energy coming out so that we just know that who we are is okay. Like it's okay to be you. And this is about acceptance and then tapping in and creating a practice over and over again.
Well, and I mean, I was a kid of the early 80s and, grew up in that stick thin Kate Moss kind of mentality of perfection, right?
Heroin chic.
So, I mean, if I could be a bit honest, I mean, I certainly have body issues that I'm working through myself. I mean, I'm 5'10". You can't tell in a podcast. Imagine, right? I'm 5'10", but I'm a size, it's even worse. In the UK, our sizes are 4 sizes higher. So I'm a size 18 or sometimes 16 in the UK. And, it's so hard. You get yourself wrapped up against that number. So in the US, I would be like a size 12 to 14. And I wouldn't say that I'm enormous, but sometimes, Carrie, I have to admit, like internally, I feel enormous because I am not a size 2 or a size 0. I don't fit that necessarily model. I have rolls on my tummy that, I've learned now that I'm 40 years old how to cover because I don't wear really like tight fitting clothes around my midsection. But, I certainly am not healed of my body image issues. I think that it's a journey, right?
It's a constant journey. I mean, I'm always working on it. I practice it every day. It's my work, right? Like I need to teach what I need to learn most. And so I just happen to have this brain that has a system side that I was like, okay, I have 20 years of healing experience and I've had crazy medical crises and physical trauma go on in my body. What do I do to pull it back in? And going to another healer wasn't the answer. I had to do it myself. And this process allows you to have a practice on a daily basis, just asking yourself, what do I need to do to be as effective and powerful as possible today?
Yeah.
And that might mean wearing higher waisted, more supportive pants so that you can feel held in. And as we take that sensation, right? Like the kinetic experience of getting dressed, using fabric as a tool to keep us held together for the day when we feel super vulnerable. Or maybe it's like you're in transit and you're traveling and you're really exhausted. Then like throw on a hoodie, protect yourself from the energy. Like I wear hats, sunglasses, hoodies, everything when I'm in an airport. I'm like, dude, don't want to know anyone right now.
Yeah. And that
I will have moments that I like open up, but I'm pretty protective of my space internally in transit.
Yeah, and I imagine that what you wear is also projecting out, hey, back up a little
off.
is right as well. So for that girl that's listening to this episode right now and just heard me say about my body image issues, what if I don't love my body, Carrie? Like what are simple tips that would help me or that listener heal and move closer towards body positivity or self-love? Like what can I do?
Such an incredible question. So we can't expect ourselves just to be like, I'm healed and I feel love for myself. Like,
check it off the box, right?
It's done for today. Okay,
done forever in my life.
Right? We're good.
Yeah.
What I can invite you to do is stay engaged in the conversation, listen, write, stay connected to your body, ask questions, and accept where it is now. Acceptance is the biggest key to success in who you are. Because yes, we can want to change things and we can work towards that. But if we can't accept our actions now of what we have done to be where we are, or just who we are right now, then we're going to be constantly fighting that. And, I was going through and still have these neurological episodes where I can't walk. And it's like, okay, like I have to learn how to accept this as something, and I had to build my life around it. I had to build my business around it, because there'll be moments where I'm like, yep, can't walk. It's
really?
Gonna be 8 hours until I recover.
What is that? What's behind that, do you think?
It's a many complexities, but basically an infectious disease, like different viruses that got into me.
Horrible.
Yeah.
It's so fascinating to me, though, like how powerful our mind is, of how, and we don't give it as much credit as we may necessarily should, because it really dictates everything. And then I start to wonder, body positivity, and just staying there for a second, if your mind is just in a state of muck, then it's probably affecting your digestion, which is probably affecting your midsection, which is probably affecting your, the way you see yourself, right?
So that's the work that we do. A lot of my clients end up either shifting their concept of themselves, like shifting their inner image and making more money and finding their voice and standing up stronger. Some end up healing themselves. So they're going through like Hashimoto's thyroid or something. And I'm like, you know what? Because I have a holistic health background, I can say, hey, there's something else going on here that we need to address. Let's pause our work. I need you to go to this doctor and deal. And then they come back like 2 months later and they're like, holy cow, I had no idea. And I get them set up where I'm like, okay, you can use jewelry and shoes to kind of work your way through until your body adjusts. But we look at, and I can, from my system that I created, I can see where the energy is being held. So then I start to ask the questions of like, okay, if the energy is being built up sort of in the lower half of your body, like what's the safety and security like in your life? Like where do you feel threatened? What is going on there? And then we get deeper into that story. So I'm actually in a very deep research project of how the body shape and our energy actually come together. I'm working with a company to do custom, they're called croquis, which is body forms, like a drawing of your own body that we can put your measurements in so that you can feel your body and then see it on the page and then draw on it as it were your body, not as it were the fashion mold of like what a body should look like, but what your physical body looks like. And when that technology comes out, I'm like, it's really going to be life-changing because we can really externalize how we feel. Right? And like, we need to get it out of ourselves to know what it is.
Yeah.
And once it's out, then we can learn how to manage it.
Right.
But until we, like, when the demons are all stuck inside the head, it's so hard to manage because you're just listening to hogwash. I mean, it's just craziness. And so I feel really fortunate at this point. I've been doing this work for a long time now. And at this point, I can go to sleep, and I do a meditation to go to sleep every night. And I can start saying the positive things. And it's taken me most of my life to overcome all of the trauma and all of the stuff to be able to say that I love myself, that I'm amazing, that I feel good in my body, that I'm incredible, that I've created something great, that I'm helping the world.
Yeah, and I dare say that a lot of women are in that love-hate relationship with their body, of feeling like their body's betrayed them, or, ugh, why can't I have ... or, geez, body, get with it, or even, heaven forbid, all of us that have had children, and you're like, well, okay, my body is completely different now, post-kids, right? But, I think it does come back to kind of the self-love, not kind of, definitely is self-love, of really acceptance and understanding that your body is evolving constantly. Do you know what I think is interesting, Carrie? So I have the Time Hop app on my phone. Do you know what Time Hop is? It's basically a magic app that can say, it pops up every single day and says, hey, this is where you were 3 years ago, 5 years ago, 10 years ago, and it aggregates all of your content from your various social media. So,
are you kidding me?
Yeah. So yesterday, a picture posted, and it said, "Oh, hey, this is you 10 years ago," and it's a picture of me, and I look. It's so funny, Carrie, when you look at pictures of your past and you're like, dang, I looked pretty good. But I remember that picture being taken 10 years ago going, oh, I don't feel so great. Or, oh, don't I look a little bit like bloated in this picture? Isn't it funny how when we look back at ourselves 5, 10, 15 years ago, we go, dang, she looked pretty good. But in the moment, we're not thinking that. Like, how do we break that cycle?
My work. Honestly, my course, Create Your Soul Style, like that is where the transformation happens. And that's where the work is done, because my goal is for you to feel awesome all the time. And I know that that's not realistic, but I want to give you the tools to manage that. And, there's a saying, like, you don't like, what is it, around like being young and like enjoying the moment and stop criticizing yourself. And like, you look awesome. And I always, would be at photo shoots and like in front of the camera or behind the camera. And then I'd look at the photographs and I'd be like, oh my God, like my nose, or like, oh, I look so tired, or I look like a horse, or whatever it is. Like I just would criticize. I mean, and the photographer's criticizing me, and there's other external forces criticizing me.
Yeah.
But I didn't know how to change that voice. And it was the hardest thing for me to act and model. Like I left the industry because I couldn't handle the internal dialogue that was going on, and I couldn't overcome that.
I call that stinking thinking.
It was so stinking. Like but it's taken me a long time. I've worked on it for a long time to get out of it, because, it's so easy to listen to the negative. It's way more powerful than the positive, right? Like it just kind of gloms on. But once you shift into the positive, dude, it's like negative, get out.
Yeah.
Like, I have tools to overcome.
Yeah.
And knowing that your body is the sacred space, and that's the container that holds the genius for your business, and that needs to be primed really well from inside and outside, and finding that balance, and knowing that your image and how you feel about yourself when you're in front of the camera having your picture taken, that's really important. Like you want to be able to project that. The camera is this magical thing that will pull in energy. Like I can look at clients' images and I'd say, well, what were you thinking there? Like we can really see that. Or I can be like, oh my God, that's amazing. You did the steps. You were talking to your ICA the way I taught you to. Like you were loving on yourself and them.
Yeah.
So really using those tools when you're projecting your image, when you're on stage, when you're in front of the camera, powerful stuff.
And so you used a term there, ICA, and that is what to you?
Oh, ideal client avatar. So the person that you have built your business around, that you want to serve, that's your big why of who you're trying to make impact with.
And I know that because you and I are buds in B School with Marie Forleo, and she preaches that night and day, which is good stuff, to really, really get clear on who I call it an ultimate ideal client, that one person you love, love, love to work with, and what is he or she's biggest pains, fears, goals, and how you can show up in the world to help him or her. So let's talk really quick about personal branding. So I find a lot of times small business owners and solopreneurs just kind of want to hide behind the logo and hide behind the stuff. But you know what? Reality is you got to get some photos of yourself.
Oh my God. Like,
huge. And I know you also have a photo shoot prep checklist, which we'll put the link down in the show notes below so you guys can check this out if you have a personal branding photo shoot coming up. Tell us, why is this important to get personal branding photos?
The photo does the talking. Like when you walk into an event, you are walking in, you can read the room, you can manage yourself, you can help engage yourself with other people, you can walk away from people. When your image is online, you have no idea who's really looking at it. You don't know who's stalking you. You don't know who's engaging with you until you know who your audience is, right? So there's that like road to get there. So when someone takes a low quality, I'm going to say, and low quality meaning it's super grainy, like it's kind of hazed over, we can't really see you, we're not getting the best image, right? A photograph of you.
Right.
We're going to be like, oh, I don't know if she's really into her business. Like, is she really like going, like shooting for the stars? Because I know that I want to work with people that are serious about being successful and will help me rise. Mm-hmm. And then if you have an online business and you're afraid to put yourself out there, there is work to be done and there are places to do that, and you can totally do that. And I suggest doing it because coming out of hiding to do your business is basically the purpose of doing your business, right? Like being an entrepreneur is the biggest personal growth experience ever.
And it comes back to the basic tenet that you hear all people talk about over and over again, and it's worth repeating. People want to do business with people they know, like, and trust. Exactly. And the photo you put out there is how you represent yourself. So if it's a selfie on your business like profile page or on LinkedIn, then like to your point, it makes me think, is this a hobby for her or is this a legitimate
is she really
business?
Taking this seriously? And I also, even for corporate women, like beyond entrepreneurs, corporate women, you still have an image to manage. You still have a perception to your bosses, to your HR department, to your teams to manage so that they understand that you're in it, like you're serious. And guess what? You're going to make more money. Like hands down. I've had clients that have gone through my course that are in corporate decide, oh my God, I actually deserve to make partner in this firm. Mm-hmm. And go and approach them. And the CEO was like, yeah, you're right. Let's start you on that track. Like you are ready. But she was really specific about what she wore, not just from an external perspective, but how it felt on her body so she could be confident.
Right. And when you're confident in your clothes, then you show up like full of life. You radiate on those photos. Yeah.
Yes.
So
100%.
I have an incredible personal branding photographer here in the UK that I use. I love, love, love her. Her name is Karina Lyburn Photography. I'll put her link down in the show notes below. But, wherever you are, oh my God, wherever you are in the world, find that person, that photographer, professional photographer, not Aunt Sally, but somebody who does this for a living. Do you have any tips on finding a great photographer?
So, I'm building a course, Get Photo Ready, so that I can help you walk through that process. So the photo shoot checklist is really the basics that you need to do 3 weeks before. So you know that how many outfits you need, all the self-care tactics, the production aspect, the basic things just to get you through it, to make sure that you got all your stuff to get to set. It doesn't talk about the conversation with finding a photographer. But that's why I'm creating this course, because you got to trust that person. You're being really, really, really vulnerable. And there has to be a chemistry between the two of you that you feel like you can light up. If you feel threatened, uncomfortable, shy with that person, they're not the person for you. They have to bring out part of your personality. You have to bring your A game and be willing to go there. But really, when you talk to a photographer, you want to know that they have lifestyle photography experience. So wedding photographers can be great because they're so much into the intimacy of connection with people. So that can be really fun. A portrait photographer can sort of not have enough depth for branding photography, right? Yep. So you really want lifestyle. And then sometimes you have more editorial photographers. And that's really when you're building a really refined image. I typically focus on the lifestyle aspect because I want that expression. I want that depth of communication, and I don't want it to look like a facade. I want it to feel as real as if we were standing right next to you. I want it to be warm and inviting.
Yeah. And I think when I've done photo shoots with her, she certainly makes it feel as comfortable as possible and feel, it's real as well. Like, you don't want it to feel too staged and set design and kind of too perfect as well. But, don't be afraid to capture the quirkier moments on camera. Like, a tip that I use is I usually have one of my assistants there and just have her read off the most ridiculous jokes to me. So it just makes me laugh because it's completely, bonkers and nuts. And it just helps, just lighten up the moment. So putting on some music or having somebody tell jokes, like those kinds of things.
I remember I was doing a shoot last fall, and I always have a style assistant help me get through the shoots. And she was like, and this was the first time she'd worked with me, she goes, "Oh, whoa, that's really different." Because you have to turn on, right? So if you think of like being turned on with your partner and sexually, like having that energy, there is this little play that has to be turned on when you're in front of the camera. And it is a very much like okay, like I'm shifting into that persona of me. It's part of you. It's not a lie. It is definitely part of you, but you have to feel it from the inside out, right?
Yeah.
Like you have to feel that sensation inside your body. It's a flirtation. I was doing a photo shoot last night with a new photographer, and we worked together years ago, and he was like, we went to dinner, and he's like, "I got my camera. Like, let's just take some pictures." I was like, "Okay, great." So we're like walking around, and I'm like, no makeup, hat, like fully covered up, but they're adorable pictures because we have really good connection.
Yeah.
He can say a couple words, and I'm like, "Oh yeah, we're there." Like we're in it together. And so as awkward as it is, staring into the lens of a camera, because it's awkward. It's really awkward.
Mm-hmm.
If you can look past the lens and either imagine, those beautifully vulnerable clients that you love to work with, being there, looking at you and aspiring to be you, or aspiring for the transformation that you're going to create, I mean, that's where it's at. That's where the energy comes from.
And would you recommend then maybe for the very first photo shoot, if you've never done one before, you do it sort of somewhere, maybe in your home, where you don't have loads of onlookers and, thinking about the insecurity of random people watching you? Or what would you suggest?
I actually really suggest keeping it simple. So like more of just a plain backdrop, like either, it depends on your brand, right? It could be like a graffiti wall, or it could be a brick wall, or it could be a white wall. Mm-hmm. But I think less is more when it's your first one.
Yeah.
Right? Because you can get caught up in your home and start to hide. And because we're so used to our home, it gets too comfortable, right?
Yeah.
And too familiar.
Yeah.
And so I think, and also there's the clutter aspect of the home, right? Unless you know how to cut out all the stuff, sometimes it'll reveal too much or show, messiness. And I just really think that when we're capturing the image, the refining of that space and keeping it like simple and pristine and clean is important. I mean, you are projecting that mindset out there.
Yeah.
And, the decor aspect, if it's not completely aligned with your brand,
might be in conflict.
I really think simpler is better. And, a lot of photographers have studios, or you can rent a space for a couple $100, or you can ask, a location that you love to borrow their space. I mean, I do location scouts. Like I will go, travel hours for location scouts for clients to really figure out, okay, how does this match up for them? What works for them when I'm doing the full production from, creative direction, producing to styling, like I will do it all. And that, I build storyboards so we can really see what we're doing, so we know what we're going to build. Yeah. And that planning process is paramount to a successful shoot.
Yeah.
And then let the magic happen.
Yeah.
Right? Because you need to have a plan and a container to get there and have those steps. And that's what a producer does. Like I produce all the steps to make it happen, but then be present for the magic to happen in front of the camera. because that's where the beauty really comes from.
Right. And just a reminder to you guys, so she's got a photo shoot prep checklist, which again, the link's down in the show notes for you guys, and your online course, which is coming out, Get Photo Ready, this summer. So be on the lookouts for that to really kind of dive into this deeper. But at the end of the day, I think what the simple point is just get started. Like, just go do it. And,
just go get a photographer like for $500 where you feel like, okay, you can go to the hair salon and get your hair and makeup done. I do recommend if you're not a makeup person, I still recommend getting a base coat down on your face so that you have, I don't know, the camera picks up weird stuff. It's a refraction of light. You will be distorted. And so we use makeup and hair and all these modification techniques so that you're not completely distorted.
Mm-hmm. So you put a little bit more makeup on than you normally would in everyday life, right? Because
I don't anymore. I don't. I mean, I'm pretty basic, right? Yeah. Like I just do a thing and then some eyes. And I don't really like much else than that. Sometimes I'll do some eyeliner, but I like to keep it as like simple and real, like the almost unmakeup, but I always love eyelashes. So I just do that, you know? Yeah. But a lot of people are like, oh, I don't want to do that. And I'm like, invest in that because it makes a difference. It really, really does.
That's good. So I challenge you guys, if you're listening and you have not done a photo shoot for your own business, or you've been sort of holding off, or you thought, oh, I don't need headshots, I'm not an actor, but just go out and do it. And, actually, once you get over the fear of the very first one, it's a lot of fun. Like when you find the right photographer, you go out and it's a nice sunny day, it can be a lot of fun. So I encourage you guys to try it. Yeah. So I have to wrap up, but I want to ask you a few final questions. And thank you so much for your time today. I feel like you've given us some really good tips and started to think about our visual identity and our personal brand. So who was one of your maybe earliest role models or mentors when it comes to this stuff? Who's helped shape you as a brand stylist?
So that's a great question. There's a lot of people because I basically changed my career multiple times because of my health. Mm. And so I went in and out of multiple industries to sort of titrate what's going on for my body. So I was in the film industry. I was in the sales and marketing industry. I was in PR. I was in fitness. I was in, all these different arenas. And when it comes to style, my grandmother, my mother, and my dear friend in London, Sarah Jane Gabb. And those three, all have the aesthetic components that are different than mine, but they taught me the sensibilities. Mm-hmm. And I started at 4 doing that and integrating into my body that way. So I've been doing it since I was a pup. Mm-hmm. And my family has an interior design firm. So I've always thought this way and I've always been a creative. And so I just had to create my own system that was able to be digested by the rest of the world so they could be transformed. Yeah. So there's nothing like my work out there, but with that said, like you can still get dressed any way you need to get dressed, right? Like it's like, oh no, you don't just have to do it this way. But if you want to find your aesthetic expression so that when you show up, you feel really excellent, mm-hmm. It's pretty awesome.
Yeah. What's maybe one book or a blog that you're reading right now that's either inspiring you or maybe even poking at you and challenging you a bit?
Jenna Kutcher. Mm-hmm. I mean, I'm really, really enjoying her. I'm enjoying her inquiries. I'm enjoying her vulnerability. I love her imaging. I find her a really incredible marketer and a great storyteller. So I've sort of been obsessed with her.
Yeah. And Jenna Kutcher, if you don't know her, she's the host of the Goal Diggers podcast. Her Instagram feed is so inspirational as well because, she took a turn about a year ago and all of a sudden started posting pictures of herself in her underwear. And you're like, whoa, okay, this is different. The wedding photographer to online educator to pictures of you in your undies, but her story as she talks about why she's doing that and her mission really deep at the core of what she does with body positivity and all that is incredibly inspirational. And, it is kind of tapping at the society and going, hey, that's not okay. Let's look at this. And this is a different perspective. Yeah.
And all the health stuff that comes along with that too, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, huge.
Really interesting.
What's maybe one good app or tool that you're using right now in your own life that's helping you simplify?
Oh my God. Oh, to simplify. Asana. I mean, everything goes through Asana. It's like everything filters through there. Every link is saved there. Every system. I mean, I have like 8 different systems, that I have to like share data with and get to people, and it gets kind of messy and complicated sometimes. And so when my team got me into the system and got my brain into that, I was like, oh my God, it's heaven. I can do it.
Yeah. Asana, if you don't know about that, is a project management tool that's a web-based browser, and it's also app form as well. So it's really easy. Yeah, I've used Asana. I use Trello currently. But when you get a system, whatever it is, then you're not relying on everything living in your brain, and it can go and be on another platform so your team can see it. Oh, it's a game changer without a doubt.
And I do 90% of my work from my phone. I only do interviews on my computer, and sometimes I'll move some data around on my computer, but I pretty much do all my work from my phone.
Yeah.
I'm on the phone, though.
Huge. So tell us who is one person that you know in your circle of friends or in your network that you think we should interview on the Simplifiers podcast, and why? Somebody who can simplify stuff for us.
I'm going to say Amber Lillestrom. She is a transformational business and branding coach, and she really helps women get on purpose. I just was with her this past weekend, styling her for her Ignite Your Soul Summit. And, it was incredible to see what she's created. We've been friends for a while, since the inception of her business, and she's in my mastermind. I love her to pieces. I think she's doing really great work. And from like a simplifiers, I think she just like gets you out of the bullshit and has you just take action.
Love it. Well, we will definitely connect with her and see if we can have her on the podcast. So a couple last questions. First and foremost, I believe that gratitude and simplicity go hand in hand. Tell us, what's one thing you're really grateful for right now, Carrie?
This is going to sound like a little selfish, but this is what came to my head. My perseverance. I'm really grateful that my whole life, through all of the ups and downs, I've been like, you know what? This is all happening for a reason, and it's going to make an impact somehow, somewhere. And I really feel like I'm starting to it's like hitting the tip of the iceberg on that. And so I'm grateful that I stuck it out and didn't give up on myself.
I think that perseverance is one of the strongest and most important traits for entrepreneurs. I mean, in the end of the day, right? We try things, and we try it again, right? Until we get it right. So, yeah. So one last question for you here. And just again, reminder to everybody, go to the show notes to find Carrie online. Your Instagram is Style by Monty, yes? Yeah. And is that where you hang out the most online, or other places?
I mean, there.
Definitely.
I'm like, did I post on Facebook? I don't know.
Yeah. So Style
on Facebook, but Instagram.
Great. So Style by Monty on Instagram is where you can find Carrie Montgomery. And again, you can click on the show notes to get the photo shoot prep checklist and get up to speed with her latest offering, Get Photo Ready, when it comes out this summer. So Carrie, somebody has been listening to this podcast and she's inspired. She's also a little bit sad because she knows deep, deep, deep down inside she's got a long way to go with really, truly loving her body. What is one thing you could whisper into her ear right now to encourage her?
Stay in the conversation and listen to your body. Your body knows the best.
Carrie, thank you so much for being on the podcast today. I really appreciate you.
Thank you. So wonderful. I really appreciate you too. It's amazing.